Automation systems and vehicles have computers in them, and they also have threats associated with those computers. Stick around to find out what they are.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are continuing through the CySA Plus series, and we are going to be talking about premise and vehicle system threats. And let's go ahead and start right away with automated systems. Dan, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, automated systems, basically we're talking about building automation, right?
Building
These are, you have a building, right? And this will be your premises, right? It's sometimes referred to as premises, building automation, that kind of thing, BAS. I'm trying to give you every nomenclature I can think of.
An acronym.
So yes, to make sure that you have it in your mind that we're on the same page, that I've got a building. If you've ever been in a large building before, even some smaller buildings, especially now with the advent of smart homes, think the idea of a smart building. I have lights, I have air conditioning and heating that I need to take care of, locks on doors. These are all these systems that are now being unified as a building automation system, right? So that's how we're thinking about that. That's what we're trying to get into. Now, these larger organizations, larger buildings, you're going to use those programmable logic controllers, those PLCs, to control all these different devices. And a lot of times you'll have a building manager and he has access into the system that controls those PLCs, and he's able to program that functionality, or he or she, I say he, they may be able to program that functionality into those systems so they can do X, Y, or Z functions that they need them to do at the times they need them to do them. I've worked in a large building before. I've seen these systems at work. It is a large undertaking and requires its own management, but it is a computer system and typically is networked in some way, shape, or form for the administration of said system. Therefore, there will be vulnerabilities associated with them, and really not going to be a lot of difference as far as some of the vulnerabilities once we get into that. So, but there are some that are a little bit different. So let's jump into that. Those features can have their own purview. Okay, so think of this, because I don't want to leave anything out. I'm trying to make sure that I get everything in here. We've talked about air conditioning. Don't forget, like, fire suppression systems. Those could be a part of it. Video monitoring. It could be RFID badges and readers, like those systems. We have that here in our building. And Nate, who's our building operations manager, he has to, anything goes wrong with it, we go, hey, Nate, door lock ain't working. I swiped my badge and nothing happened. It just went green, but the door didn't open. And he'll have to go into his system to see why that was occurring, maybe reboot the thing, maybe start and stop a service. Who knows what he does? But there you go. As far as vulnerability goes, the number one is probably going to be buffer overflows in the PLCs themselves, right? We think, oh, it's like a physical thing and it's building operations. It's not really IT. So it can get overlooked, the fact that these are systems that we need to secure, and they're susceptible to all the oldies and goldies, like buffer overflows. So if that's a problem, we need to be aware of that. And mitigations are going to be things like updates, vendor patches, that kind of thing. Hard-coded credentials. So typically, like I said, how people would access these systems is usually through some sort of web interface. So you have a web-based interface, you log into it gives you access to making programming or programmatical changes to these systems, and then that informs the PLCs. The PLCs change what they do, and you're off to the races. So because of that, sometimes I'll hard code creds in because that makes my life easy. Not a good idea. Or I bought a system that was developed, or I had the in-house team develop something, and we bought all the moving parts, and we in-house baked our own, and we put in creds in there. Never a good idea. We want to stay away from that. Also don't want to put any of our keys in there, cryptographic keys, API key, anything of that nature. Shouldn't be hard-coded in. It should be called on when necessary and be given in a secure manner. Okay? Command and code injection. That's what happens when you put those two words together right back to back. You want to say commode, but that's not the word we were looking for. It's code and command injections. Like I said, web application, it's a web app. It doesn't matter what it does. It's a web application, And I, as a threat actor, would be looking for things like cross-site scripting attacks, right? Things like code injection, clickjacking, file traversals. These are the kind of things that are going to give me good information and maybe even give me access into the system, okay? So we got to be on the lookout for those because we are using those web-based interface. Let's go jump into my computer real quick. I got a couple of websites that I found that could be handy for us and understanding what it is we're talking about here. Here is Johnson Controls, and they make Metasis. Wait, that's Metasis. That's right, not Metasis. They are the world's leading BAS system, I guess, because they reach a new level of smart. Showing you kind of their product with Metasis. It looks pretty cool, but I like this down here because it kind of shows you their advanced field equipment controllers, their IOMs, input-output modules, series controllers, advanced reporting systems, all the stuff that goes along with this. If you go into, let's try this, kind of drills down into, well, it doesn't not here. I guess I clicked the wrong link. But anyway, you get the idea. It's giving you that control, both with the interface that you're going to control it through, as well as the controllers that it's going to be interfacing with. I like how I'm getting marketing. Anyway, moving on, talking about specifically vulnerabilities and what are could be a potential issue for you and your environment. Found this article from Forescout. There's the URL, forescout.com/company/blogs/vulnerabilities-in-building-automation-systems. That's a mouthful. But if you scroll down, we are discovering and defending against vulnerabilities and building automation systems. This is a fantastic article, really pertinent to what our discussion is right now, and kind of going right over those same things. So HVAC, physical access controls, very important, right? Because a physical access control, I'm glad I jumped in here. That could be its own system in and of itself. Those badge readers and everything, that's actually how we have it set up here, if I'm not mistaken, that is its own system separate from our HVAC and our fire suppression and all that. It's siloed. Whereas if you had something like Metasis, it would be an all-in-one solution. They would give you everything you need for all those moving parts. But talking about the vulnerabilities, 2 high severity vulnerabilities were used in malware. Look, hard-coded secrets and buffer overflows. That's right there. We found an encryption function using a hard-coded secret to store user passwords. No bueno, right? That's not what we want. This weakness allows an attacker to obtain the credentials of valid users of the device. And then a buffer overflow. During this exploitation, they found a buffer overflow leading to remote code execution on the PLC, which allowed an attacker to take full control of the device. And with PLCs, depending on what it is they do, maybe it's just a lock. Maybe I'm just unlocking doors with that. Cool. But maybe I'm like opening hydraulic systems and they're going to crush people or something. It could be dangerous. So PLCs control a lot of interesting things that we would not want an attacker to gain access to, or even accidentally mess it up and cause some sort of dangerous environment.
And kind of leapfrogging on that, one of the things the article mentions too in there, Dan, is the ICS, the industrial control systems, which PLCs, I mean, they're in the same camp.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And then they throw in IoT, and we know how prevalent IoT is, and those are being used for automating systems as well inside of your companies too. Target's 2013 attack was a HAVAC system. They think now, in fairness to this was network credentials that were stolen, but they were able to get in, and then they pivoted by dropping a point-of-sale system Trojan that turned around and, exfiltrated the system, and we know, rest is history after that. So you definitely have to worry about those types of attacks.
That's exactly right. And this was a great article. I'll put that link in the learner resources for you good folks out there so you can read it in full. Highly connected to this topic and conversation. Is going to give you a lot of great information and insight to somebody that was trying to experiment with how dangerous are our business automation systems and how vulnerable could they actually be. It was a great article, so I'll put that in there for you.
Dale, one of the things I remember seeing, my aunt about 5 years ago, my aunt and uncle, they bought a Mustang. And one of the things I remember that, they're like, hey, check out the Mustang and everything. And I seen across the little LED display or LCD, LED display, it said, powered by Microsoft. And I was thinking, wow, that doesn't seem like it's safe. So let's talk a little bit about vehicular systems, because that's becoming more and more prevalent. We know, in fact, Dan and I were talking before we even started this episode, that computers have been on board cars for a very long time. You know that it's probably one of the most expensive things, and it's also something that's being hooked up to, but they've advanced, right? We have rolling Bluetooth hotspots in our cars today too. Tell us a little bit more about that, Dan.
Yeah, it's an interesting because you might have fleet vehicles as part of your organization. So these vehicle systems, and we're talking automobiles mostly, a little bit on like maybe drones. So
Aviation.
if you have right, and not aviation, drones specifically.
Drones, I got you.
Right, not airplanes, but they all will use what's called the I want to say controller area network, or what is it? Yeah, controller area network bus, or the CAN bus. Now, this is the thing that gives all these little systems that are a part of your vehicle. Gives it's basically the main brain for accessing those systems, right? That's the CAN bus. And they're in drones and they are also in vehicles. Problem is that it's really old technology. It works a lot like an old Ethernet hub. Okay? With an Ethernet hub, you got one spot, right? You plug cables in and everything's connected. Hey, great. Also has about the same security as an Ethernet hub. Wes, how much security is that?
Not much, especially when you talk about hubs in general, how they work when they broadcast all the information. It's a really good way to spy on your devices.
Yeah, it is. So if you gain access to the CAN, you gain access to the systems. Okay, so that's why 30 years ago when these come out, it wasn't such a big deal. It does a few electronical things here and there. It's no big, who cares, right? But nowadays, Wes just got done telling us it's a mobile Bluetooth Wi-Fi hotspot, right? We got Bluetooth, we got Wi-Fi. We've got all sorts of crazy electrical and computerized systems that are now in our vehicles, right? So we have to be aware that if they are computerized, then we have a vulnerability if someone were able to gain access.
You know, one of the things I think here, I'm going to put my tin
Yeah,
foil hat on
as you
here
should.
on there. My wife has a Nissan Rogue, all right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that it tells us every single time you turn that engine off is, yeah, we're collecting your information, reporting it back to Nissan so we can improve our quality of service. Yeah, that's great. But what happens if somebody sits in the middle of that communication and now they've got my location information, they got my trip data, they can kind of start to glean where I am and what I've been doing. That's, to me, and again, kind of take the tinfoil hat off, it still sounds scary.
Yeah, it is scary. It's a lot because there's all this information that's being sent over.
And not Nissan.
God knows what
I just mean
communications.
somebody that's in between that communication.
Right, and I assume that's a cellular technology that's sending that information, but I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm hoping.
Yes, I
Right?
think.
I hope. I'm gonna build a Faraday cage in my garage, and that's where I park my
Sure.
car. Yeah. I'll turn it off all day. You ain't getting nowhere, buddy.
That's right.
That's just not happening. But like think of it, your navigation systems, right? It's talking to GPS.
It's communication.
That's exactly right. It's communication. If I can use any one of these systems to gain access to now, if you've been to a security conference here lately, they almost invariably have some sort of car hacking demonstration booth, something or other, and we protect against this type of technology. So there is stuff out there for us. But let's I want to mention the drones. The CAN bus will control things like stabilization, engine power, and landing mechanisms, the GPS for it to be able to locate itself to where it's at in relativity to your device, right? So that's what the CAN's going to do with that. With a car, a lot of times you're going to connect with one of these things. Right, this is what's called a, I think it's on here. Does it say it? Yeah, right here on this side. OBD2, right? It's basically the data port controller. It looks a little bit like that. You can kind of see it. Kind of cool looking. And it's got some pins and there's a port underneath your steering wheel. You plug this thing in and I can read codes. I can do data logging with this, understand information. On the underside of this right there is a little USB connector. So I can connect this up with my laptop. This is an old school one. This is my personal one I just happen to keep in my car. Nowadays, you got modules that actually plug in, stay plugged in, and you access it with your smartphone. Can take all sorts of great read ups, but you can also gain access to the CAN through that, right? So that's one way of gaining access. Another way would be using like the wireless, hacking through into the wireless, gaining access to the CAN. And through those, I can control systems like the door locks and the anti-lock brake systems. And if it has automation and the steering and guidance, maybe it's a smart car or not smart car, but I've been working on these self-driving cars. Again,
Autonomous?
Autonomous cars. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. So I can either DOS the whole system, just overwhelm it with requests, and then it just kind of stops working and maybe your car just stops working. But I found this article, which was really kind of funny and interesting from Wired. Hackers remotely kill a Jeep on the highway with me in it. Right? So they were driving the car down the road. They were able to take remote control over the car, kill systems, make the brakes work. And there's a little short YouTube video goes along with it. But I like this because it shows the picture. So they said they had a 0-day exploit that can target Jeep Cherokee specifically and give the attacker wireless control via the internet to any thousands of vehicle. Their code is an automaker's nightmare, I would say decidedly so, because it gives commands to the Jeep's entertainment system to its dashboard functions, steering, brakes, and transmission, all from a laptop that may be across the country. So, yep, this is a real issue. There's a picture down here of the car in a ditch because that's where it ended up. Show it. There it is. There it is. This is what we want to avoid. These are the things we want to avoid. And again, there's your URL. Wired.com/2015/07/hackers-remotely-kill-jeep-highway. We want to keep ourselves out of the ditch metaphorically and physically when it comes to our vehicle system. So if you operate drones or if you operate vehicles as a fleet and they are more modern, you do need to not overlook these items as a part of your threat landscape, because you never know why something's being targeted or for what reason or who it's going to be. You just need to know this is a part of my environment. It is a system. It's on the threat landscape, on the threat surface, and I need to protect it as much as I possibly can. So we got to be on the lookout for that. I think that's basically all I got. Not a long objective, but one we need to be aware of, and just the little bits that we need to be aware of that go along with it for the exam.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember that these are specialized systems. We've got plenty of them out there, probably got to have a few more to talk about, and it's important as a cybersecurity analyst that you can explain the threats that are associated with things like we've seen, automated systems, building systems, right? Things like your vehicular systems too, and you need to be able to identify those threats. We got a lot more to come in CySA Plus, but not in this episode, so we hope to join you there.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.